1, 2, 3, 4. Walk into the club. I'm fixing the towel. Ow! Ow, I whacked myself in the face. And I have a passion for fashion artistry. Hello, I got these new sunglasses and they're the best. So basically this video is about my graduation dress. I made my dress for graduation. We know we've all been online school for the past long time, and I was part of the group that chose to stay online the entire school year, just for safety reasons and to like protect my family. And so I didn't think that I was going to get to be able to sign yearbooks, and so I wanted to do like a living yearbook was kind of my idea, a way to bring together all of my friends and like kind of commemorate our experience in a piece of living art. I've showed before a quilt that I own that is kind of a tradition from when I was in elementary school. Every year we would do a unit on an artist, and every single person would make like one piece. So like one year we did fish. Everybody painted a fish, and then they all get cut out and sewn onto a quilt together. The one I have is the flower garden. So 3rd and 2nd grade girls all drew flowers and they were all sewn onto one big quilt, and that's the one I have. So that was kind of the inspiration for my dress. So I wanted to do a 3-tier dress, and I saw this dress by Minju Kim and I was inspired, and I also wanted to take some of inspiration from that dress, and hands were my thing. So I wanted to get a handprint from all of my friends. So I collected a bunch of people that I wanted to imprint on my dress, and I asked them to send me handprints in the mail or to drop them off, and they did. Ta-na, ta-na, dun, ta-na. I didn't count how many I have, but I have about this many hands. And so first I'm going to show you the process of making the dress. I patterned it myself. I used a top pattern that we already had, and then I did the math to do the skirt, and then I ended up painting on the hands with acrylic paint. So as I mentioned, the dress from Minju Kim, the Spring We Lost collection, was one of my larger inspirations later in the dressmaking process, but I did have this idea about the hands, and originally it was going to be a jacket because I wanted like a lab coat to wear just around. I was in the mood for a lab coat and I thought that this would be cute. So I drew up a couple designs. This is one of the later designs that was just some different ideas and some different silhouettes. And these are 3 more that I drew of just fun silhouettes that were inspiring to me. And this is a list of some of the names of people that I wanted to put on the dress. So let's go ahead and jump into actually sewing it. So I have this dress that kind of reminded me of what I was looking for, so I tried it on, took some measurements about where I wanted the tiers to land, packed it, ended up with this, all my measurements and computations for what I needed, and headed off to the fabric store. I knew I was looking for white cotton, and it ended up that there was a sale for $2 a yard instead of the regular expensive $9 a yard for the nice fabric. So I got 6 yards of this, like plus safety. My computations were 5.5 for safety, but my mom was like, just round it up because this fabric was on sale, $2 a yard. So I feel like it's a pretty good deal. Okay, so I have this pattern piece from McCall's M7321, and I'm laying it out here. I'm gonna alter this, so I need to make sure to do that before I cut it, and then I'm gonna cut this to draft the lining for the bodice, and I'm gonna see if that fits. What I've done is I've sized it down to a size 16, but I'm gonna leave off all the lengthen, and I'm gonna see how long that gives us in terms of bodice. So as you can see, I'm jumping in with the cutting. I wanted to make gloves, I ran out of time. So that's what happened to the yellow fabric, so just disregard her. So let's look at the adjustments I made. This is the first cut. The bodice side front piece 2 is the same. This one, the back, I decided to cut the back on fold because I'm gonna put the zipper on the side. That's something I've seen, I'm gonna try it out. And then this one, because I want a straight neckline, I cut it straight. And then you might notice these little tabs. These help me know which pieces go with which. So like the triangles will match to the other triangles, and then these guys, the half hexagons, will match with the other thing. And sewing together all of the bodice seams. Okay, it took a little bit of finagling, but I've brought the pattern size down so that it fits me, and I'm gonna cut the outer layer. So now it fits like this, and then on the back, there's a little pleat, partially because of issues, but I think it'll be nice. And now the back has like a little dip, and that was that part of the original plan? No, it was not, but is it gonna be nice? Yes, so we're gonna leave it that way. So here I'm using a technique that's fine, but was kind of dumb, and I'll amend it later. But just letting you know now, I never get the bodice to fit me right, so. Okay, I'm going to try cutting the first layer. I'm a little nervous because I'm doing a circle instead of a strip, which is what I saw some other people doing, but we're gonna see how it turns out. I want it to be a little more like poofy. This is what I'm gonna cut. So then I cut that and sewed that, and I didn't like it, and then that leads us to this. I need emotional support before I cut this. I am so nervous. So it turns out I was not happy with the skirt that I made, the first tier. I think this is it. Yes, here it is. Because what I did was I didn't times it by 1.5. I added 5 inches, which turns out to only be 4 inches because of seam allowance. I didn't take that into consideration. And it's fine, it fits, it just doesn't have enough gathers, and I don't love it. So I decided to try and do the math for timesing everything by 1.5, and I don't have enough fabric. So there's not going to be a lining to this dress anymore, at least not with the fabric that I have right now. But what I was able to section out was a new top layer, a new layer 1 of big full skirt and a layer 2. So layer 1 and layer 2 are about the same size. That's like all the fabric I had. So I'm going to cut it, and I'm just gonna see what happens at this point. I need to like not stress, because you're gonna make mistakes. Everybody has those days, as they say. So as I said, I did the math and outlined 3 new skirts. The first 2 are 1/4 circle, and the last one is 1/2. And the 1.5 thing is a way to times so that you have enough to gather. Okay, so this is the only half skirt piece I got, and it's 40. It's a 40 radius half circle. I think I have to cut an 18 radius to like fit myself into it, but here's the half circle. This is the biggest piece that I cut. So it's kind of confusing, but basically use your long tape measure to measure out the length of the circle, and that's like how big it is. That's what the 40 radius is, the big length of it. And then the 18 that I was mentioning is, I used a calculator for this, but it's your waist measurement basically, or the bottom of the last tier, so that you can attach it to the bottom of the last tier, which is kind of like the waist at that point. And so when I cut that big half circle, I'm not actually using the whole thing. I'm really just using the edge of it, but you have to cut it as one big thing and then cut the strip to get what you need. Okay, I attached the second panel to the top skirt and I gathered the top. Unfortunately, there was not enough space to gather the bottom. I could only, like, there wasn't even enough to gather it by 1 inch. But I think it'll be okay because when this gets sewn on, it'll be, like, more gathered, so it'll make the bottom one look gathered. And then these 2 are only 1/2 circle skirt. No, sorry, 1/4 circle skirt. But I'm going to attach a 1/2 to the very bottom, so that's going to be gathered too. So it'll kind of scrunch up the middle one. I think first I'm going to sew this to the top bodice. I'm wearing both bodice right now just to see how it looks. But I'm gonna sew this to the top bodice, and just like that, that's the bodice attached to the first 2 layers. It's looking good. I was just double checking like this seam because it has a little high-low thing going on, which is fine. The back kind of looks like it's sagging, but once I add the straps, that'll hold everything up together. And it's looking good. I'm very excited. I mean, honestly, you could wear it just like this, but I want to add 1 more tier. The piece I have for the bottom is a 1/2 skirt. So if I use less of it, then I can make a lining skirt, which was the original plan. Because as you can see, this is kind of sheer. So we need something in the inside. Okay, now I attached the front bodice to the inside lining bodice, and I'm gonna sew them together. And now we turn it inside out, and then we're gonna iron it along this top piece here to put down the inside bodice. So this is the outside bodice. Okay, so that is the bodice put down. It's not perfect. I can show you. The box pleats are not the same size because I just estimated them. You can't really see on camera because I'm not doing a great job of showing it. Now I think I'm gonna work on the bottom skirt and cutting the last half, and that'll determine like exactly how long the skirt is gonna be. And then from there, it's just adding the hem and adding the straps, and then we're done. Well, with the dress part. This is how she's looking right now. This is with the double bodice, and I'm actually really happy with how it's looking so far. So I'm going to take the measurement from the bottom of this skirt to over the knee. So I'm going to make the bottom layer 12 inches. So this is the big half circle, and I'm just going to measure from the outside to the inside by 12 inches, and then I'm going to cut this strip, and that should be the outermost layer of the dress. Okay, you can't get me and the fabric in the shot. But here's the fabric. I decided to extend it to 15 inches for the bottom, which was unnecessary because I ended up taking it up later anyways. But I just wanted to say it's funny because, like, in my mind, I'm in a Zoom class right now. I'm gonna make sure I'm on mute. I am. I'm always paranoid about that. In my mind, I'm like very tall, but then when I measure out and like in my mind, this is a long skirt, but the fact that it's 15 inches, that sounds big, but then you lay it out on the fabric and you're like, it's so small. And I don't know, something about like making clothes that actually fits me always makes me go like, I'm so small. Like in a tiny way, not like a skinny, just like a, I'm shocked how small I am sometimes. This didn't really come out right. I was struggling to say what I meant, but what I meant was, as someone who wears oversized clothes a lot and just kind of goes, whatever size it is, it'll fit me, it's fine, okay. I'm not very good at knowing my own size and actually fitting things to how small I am, because in my mind, I'm a lot larger than I actually am, and that becomes a problem later. Anyways, back to the cutting. I am cutting the bottom tier, which is 15 inches, but anyways, later, spoiler alert, I size it down again. This is the skirt, the bottom tier. And this is me sewing the strip into a circle. Looking at the bottom, even though it's a full circle and it was doubled so that I could gather it, technically, looking at it, it matches up pretty exactly. This is the bottom of the full bodice, and this is the new cut piece. So I don't think I'm gonna have space to gather it. I'm heating the iron. Welcome to Zoe's Ratchet Workspace. I'm heating the iron, and I'm going to iron this little seam open, and then I'm just gonna sew it straight to this. And I'm hoping to use the scraps from one of the skirts to make at least like a half slip lining on the inside. This is what a pressed open seam looks like, in case you're wondering. So when you sew it, it's like that, and when you press it open like this. This is what makes everything look more professional, and if you can, I mean, I skipped a couple presses just because I didn't want to get the iron out, but if you can press at every single step, you're going to improve your work by so much. Okay, it fits basically perfectly. Now I'm going to sew it together and see how the length is. Okay, so here's the dress with the full tier on the bottom. Obviously, we're going to take it up about an inch because of the hem, and I think that'll be good. I might take off an extra inch. You might notice this little hole on the side, which is okay because I'm actually going to seam rip this and insert my invisible zipper. I saw a dress very similar to this just right now on somebody's story, and I was like, no! Because I wanted it to like look original, and now I'm like, ugh, is it simply drab? This is the beginning of my mental decline with this dress, but right now I'm just taking off the first hem, which is taking it up a little bit, and then I'm gonna hem it again. Oh my gosh. I went from yas to very unhappy very quickly. I don't know, something about this third tier is just making me feel like, ugh. I don't know. The second tier was so cute, and this one, I'm just not feeling it. It's the right length, but yeah, something about this, I'm just like not here for it all of a sudden, and it's very annoying. Reaching the motivation curve where you're like ding, 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 and then you're like bzz. But I'm only gonna let myself take off 1 more inch off the bottom. Like really it's a ½ inch, so that means that I took it up completely by 2 inches. And then from there, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna seam rip this little lining piece, and I'm gonna insert the straps. I had a whole other plan to add piping to match my gloves, but then I decided not to do it because it would look like an egg and it was ugly. So just ignore, and we're just gonna have white straps. Hello? So I just made 4 very long tubes and turned them, and now I'm going to top stitch. They're about this long, and they might be too long. They're gonna make like long bow ties that kind of hang down, but I'm just gonna go with it. I just used as much space as there was left on the fabric, so each one is probably about 3 yards long. Wow, that's long. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and top stitch this now. And then using the scraps from my circle, I'm gonna make a lining skirt. So I'm just pinning them together and gonna sew this line, and then I'm gonna cut out a little hole, and that'll be the inside lining. Okay, everything's a mess. Please just don't look. Okay, so I sewed the dress all together. It looks super cute. And also, this is like a side note, but they just announced that they are going to announce prom queen on Tuesday at our senior picnic. And I am top 5 girls. And we have to dress up. So now I'm like, okay, well, now I have to wear this. Like, they didn't tell us that they were gonna announce prom queen in person. Okay, so I thought everything was fine. I was like, okay, finish the dress first. I had a little problem with one of the straps, so I fixed it. I actually really like the long strap. I really like that it kind of goes to the length of the skirt. But now look at this. What is that? Why do I look like an opening ice cream cone? And also, this is another weird part, is that the I don't know if you can see it on the side, but the point of the bust is like at the wrong place. It's like all the way up here when it needs to be like down here, but like the design isn't meant to be that low cut. It's meant to be like pretty high cut. So I'm like, why is the peak over here when it needs to be like down here? It's like an inch off. And 1 extra second of fiddling around, and I figured what the issue is. I'm not big enough. If I was like this much bigger, I don't know if you can see the gap, it's kind of hard to see. If I was like this much bigger, which is a lot bigger, it would fill out perfectly. See? But I'm not. So I'm like, how do I fix this issue? Because earlier when I was just trying on the individual bodice pieces, I sized it down to my size. Okay, so I did a little base stitch on this side, just taking it in at the bust, which takes in the middle piece and the side panel, and I think that that should fix my issue. This is the other side. I haven't tied the straps, but this is the other side, and then this is the side with just taking it in by about 1/2 inch, I think. So that was just a base, but it is late, and I have my AP Calc exams tomorrow, so I have to go to bed, and then tomorrow I'm going to fix this professionally, fix this skirt, because the skirt was also something I'm not happy with. To be completely honest, the lining is raw on the inside, but nobody can see the inside, so that's my last priority. And now for a little intermission, a prom mission. These two don't mix together to make a good pun. I wore the dress as it was with no paintings for the prom nominations, so here are some cute photos that my friends took of me. I did not end up winning. However, I did get this amazing photo, which we can put side by side with a picture of me in my very first play at my high school, in which I played a demon. And I just thought that was really cute. Like, see how far we've come in 4 years. Opening my cap and gown for the first time. Today's senior awards. Coming out of the package. Ooh, I got a little tassel. That's fancy. Da-na-na-na. Literally feels just like a cereal box. That is funny. I look like a cartoon character, which we love. Now try not to set it on fire as I put it on next to the stove. See, this is what I mean. I took it in by like not even 1/4 of an inch on the bust on both sides, and now it's too small. And I already cut it because it fit when I tried it on. So at this point, I kind of resolved that the bodice was a hot mess. I'd already cut it down. I couldn't cut it down anymore. I couldn't expand it. I didn't really know what to do, so I just kind of gave up and moved on to the painting process because I had less than 2 days until graduation, and I wanted to make sure the dress was dry. Okay, so I traced all the hands onto the dress in like a nice spread out placement with a water soluble pencil that I got in a 3-pack. That was a very good deal because these are very expensive and it's so annoying. And then now I'm going to write everybody's name in Sharpie, and then I'm going to paint on top of it, so then I don't have to worry about going back and adding everybody's name. And the painting process begins. My first couple shots are really bad because obviously my head is in the way. But I'm using fabric paint that I got from Michael's. It was great. I didn't have a problem with it. I made sure to lay down newspaper, or I have a little like board underneath it just so that it doesn't bleed through to the other side. All of the hands I painted onto the skirt with no particular color. Here I am blocking the camera again. All of them are painted on the skirt. There weren't enough hands, or like it wouldn't look good to have them on the bodice, and then there's also like just that awkward placement, you know. So I put them all on the skirt, painted them on. It was pretty easy, pretty chill. I thought this was satisfying though, so I could show you. I can tell you a little bit more about the process. Oh, this was the day of graduation. I was gonna tell you about how I didn't bother to put the invisible zipper in a good fashion, so it just kind of was put in like a regular zipper and kind of trash. But yeah, I ran out of time and I was painting this on the day of graduation. So as you can see, I'm drying it with a hair dryer so that it dries faster. But yeah, the dress barely dried in time for me to get up and go to graduation. Obviously I couldn't paint the whole thing at once or else the paint would smear, so I had to paint it in sections, and I had to leave my house at 4, I think, to get to graduation on time, and it had just barely dried. There were a couple points, I don't think any of them were caught on film, but there were a couple points where I accidentally fell or I touched the fabric somewhere that I wasn't supposed to, and it happened significantly 2 times with the red paint, so I just turned those little mistakes into hearts, and there are 2 little tiny red hearts that were unplanned, but I think they turned out super cute, and I actually like it a lot. And that's the end of painting. And it's time for the final reveal. I'll look around until I found someone who laughs like you.
Here she comes, here she comes.
Zoe!
Yo, what's up, Zoe? The creased Air Force One.
Genesee, Zoe, Hertz.
Yeah!
Graduates, please rise. Guys, we did it. Class of 2021, are you excited? Ladies and gentlemen, you are graduates.
Zoe, throw your hat! Yo, Zoe! 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 Zoe, that was lame. I'm disappointed. Come on.